What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. For this camera comparison we have the brand new iPhone 14 and of course the iPhone 13. Now this year both devices are pretty similar, so I wanted to see how the cameras compare on the 14 and of course on the 13, if the front or rear cameras are actually improved. Alright, so the maximum recording resolution for the front-facing cameras is 4K at 60 frames per second. I'm currently doing 4K at 30 frames per second with both devices. It's a super sunny day, but a bit windy. So you may hear some wind aside from my voice. And as you've noticed, I'm switching the audio from one device to the other one. I'm also gonna run a bit, just so you can see how the stabilization works on both devices. And it is getting a bit windy around here. Just gonna walk about here and we'll spin around. So yeah, 4K 30 frames per second with the front-facing cameras. Okay, so next let's move on and check out some pictures that I took with the rear cameras, and I think we're gonna start by checking out some portrait mode pictures. Alright, so looking at those portrait mode pictures that I took, well, there are some small differences. First of all, most pictures taken by the iPhone 14 seem to be a bit more saturated, so those colors are a bit deeper, I'm gonna say. And then the pictures also seem to be a bit over sharpened, but personally I'm not a fan of that. It makes our faces look a bit darker, and I personally prefer the portrait mode pictures that I took with the iPhone 13. I don't know, they just seem more appealing to me. But definitely leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Do you prefer the portrait mode pictures from the iPhone 13 or the portrait mode pictures from the iPhone 14? But there is a difference there, definitely. Okay, next we are moving on and checking out some 5x zoom pictures. Keep in mind that neither device has a telephoto lens on the back, therefore everything that you are seeing is basically digital zoom. Now here I can definitely see a difference for the picture quality from the iPhone 14 when compared to the 13. So most pictures taken by the 14 are way sharper than the same picture that I took with the iPhone 13. So for 5x zoom pictures, definitely an improvement for the camera on the iPhone 14. Alright, and we are moving on to pictures that I took with the ultra-wide cameras on the back of the two devices. And here, surprise, surprise, at least in my opinion, I feel that the iPhone 13 does better in every single picture when compared to the iPhone 14. So the iPhone 14 seems to use somewhat more saturated colors, just slightly more saturated, but then we also have a lot of over sharpening and added contrast, I'm gonna say, those pictures, making those pictures look a bit too dark for my taste. So if I would have to choose one of these devices for those ultra-wide pictures, I personally feel that the iPhone 13 does a bit better than the iPhone 14, which is kind of funny. But once again, let me know your thoughts in a comment down below. And next we're gonna move on and check out some pictures that I took with the main cameras on the back of the two devices. So here there isn't that big of a difference as we've seen for those ultra-wide cameras, but if you look close enough, you will notice the exact same thing. The iPhone 14 has the somewhat more saturated colors, and once again there is a lot of over sharpening or added contrast in those pictures, making them look a bit darker. Keep in mind that both devices were used using the vibrant mode for those pictures, so they're both set to the same settings basically. But looking at those pictures, even though if you just glance at them, they do look kind of similar, once again, it seems to me that the iPhone 13 has the better picture quality. Of course, that can change with the software update, but as of now, once again, I do prefer the pictures from the iPhone 13. What do you guys think? Okay, next we are moving on and checking out some pictures that I took at night. Of course, all the night pictures that you are seeing or taking using the night modes on both devices, because it was dark enough that they both enabled that dark mode. So looking at the pictures that I took with the main cameras here, well, in some of those pictures, it seems like the iPhone 14 has the somewhat sharper pictures, but I'm not sure if that has to do with that over sharpening that they've been doing. I mean, there isn't that big of a difference. You don't see those pictures looking brighter. So if you just glance at them once again, and mostly if you're looking at those pictures on your phone screen, you may not actually notice a difference. So really not that big of an improvement, if any improvement at all, for the main camera and the night mode. And if I remember that Apple presentation, they did seem that the iPhone 14, the main camera on the iPhone 14 captures more light, but I just don't see that. So yeah, I don't think there is that big of a difference for those nighttime pictures using the main camera. Moving on to the ultra-wide cameras and of course that night mode, well, here I think I'm seeing a bigger difference between the 14 and the 13. But does that have to do with that over sharpening that I mentioned earlier? Because most of those pictures, yes, do seem to be a bit sharper from the iPhone 14. But also those areas seem to be a bit darker, so maybe the pictures aren't actually sharper, they just have more contrast added. But there seems to be kind of an improvement. I don't know. It's tough to say. Realistically, neither device does that great for those ultra-wide cameras and the night mode. Alright, so next we're gonna move on and check out some sample recordings that I've done during the day and at night. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is the fact that the microphone on the iPhone 14 seems to be a bit better, but only when there is some wind around you. So slightly better microphone recordings from the 14, at least in my opinion. Now, the same sharpening happens for video recordings as well, and you do notice that more for the daytime videos. Now, I still like how the daytime videos look from the 14, but I actually liked how the daytime videos looked from the 13 as well. But I did notice a difference for nighttime recordings. So all the nighttime recordings done with the 14 are a bit brighter and maybe a bit sharper than the ones that I got from the 13. So I'll let you guys watch those sample videos and I'll be right back. Alright, we have a quick video test between the iPhone 13 and of course the iPhone 14. For this recording I'm using the main cameras on the back of the two devices and recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. Of course, both devices can also do 4K at 60 frames per second. So I'm just gonna stop here, we're gonna pan left and back right, and honestly from what I'm seeing on the screens here I don't really see any difference. Again, we'll have to see how this footage actually looks on a computer screen. So I'm gonna walk a bit faster just so you can see how that stabilization works on both devices. And I guess we can stop here once again and pan right slowly. I can actually go up these stairs here. We also have a bit of wind, so you may hear some wind aside from my voice. So yeah, main cameras 4K at 30 frames per second between the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 14. Alright, we are moving on to our next recording. For this recording, once again, I'm doing 4K at 30 frames per second, but I switched the cameras to the ultra-wide cameras on the back of the two devices. We'll walk this way. We have a combination of sunshine and shade. I guess we can walk this way for a bit. I'm gonna stop here and we're gonna pan right slowly. And we'll head back towards the road. So 4K at 30 frames per second with the ultra-wide cameras on the iPhone 13 and of course on the iPhone 14. Okay, so I have another quick video done with the main cameras, but this time around I changed the resolution to 4K at 60 frames per second, of course on the iPhone 14 and 13. And I was gonna climb these stairs here. I'll try to do it as fast as I can, just so you can see how that stabilization works. So I think I'm gonna stop somewhere around here. And I guess we'll just pan to the left slowly. And to the right, so towards the castle and kind of towards the sun. So yeah, that was 4K 60 with the main cameras on the back of the two devices, so the iPhone 14 and 13. Alright, we have a quick video recording between the iPhone 13 and of course the iPhone 14. For this recording we are using the main cameras on the back of the two devices and recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. We're gonna pan left, it is a bit darker around here. And the image does look a bit brighter on the screen of the iPhone 14, but we'll have to see how this footage actually looks on the computer. So yeah, this is how recording in low light between these two devices would look like. Alright, and we are moving on to our next recording in low light, but for this recording we are using the ultra wide cameras on the back of the two devices and once again recording in 4K at 30 frames per second. We're gonna walk this way for a bit, just a couple of steps. It gets a bit darker around here and we'll pan right. And from what I'm seeing on the screens here, neither device does that exceptional. So yeah, ultra-wide cameras, 4K at 30 frames per second. So what do you guys think about those sample videos? Do you like the 14 or the 13 more? I am on the fence about it. I still think I prefer the videos from the iPhone 13. Okay, next we are moving on to some selfies. And surprise, surprise, here for the daytime selfies, I actually prefer the selfies from the iPhone 13. The selfies from the iPhone 14, at least the daytime selfies, are oversaturated in my opinion. And moving on to nighttime selfies, well, we seem to have an improvement for those nighttime selfies because the iPhone 14 does have the somewhat sharper selfies at night, where the iPhone 13 doesn't have really sharp pictures. So there you have it, the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 13. Personally, in my opinion, the iPhone 14 is not really an upgrade from the iPhone 13. And if I would have the iPhone 13, I wouldn't actually upgrade to the new one, the iPhone 14. But once again, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.